Our first stop of the morning, which is October the 2nd, a Sunday, finds us at the Thiepval Museum, which is the Battle of the Marne, right, George? Somme, I'm sorry, the Battle of the Somme, which in 1916, and the first day of the battle, the British lost like 56 or 58,000 casualties. It's their single biggest casualty day in the history of Britain. Inside the museum, it talks about the Battle of the Somme and how important it was and how many people were killed. You see there's some shells and some helmets and some other artifacts here from that time period. The little town that we're in was a linchpin of the area for the battles. There's no mention here about what type of plane this is, but with the French tricolor on the aileron, I think it's the, I think so. I think it's French. And here's the monument at Thiepval to the 72,000 dead and missing without individualized graves. Their names are on the walls. It has gone through some renovation over time as the weathering of the statue, well, you know, things happen. Anyway, you could see that it's in this little clearing. You could see this when we were driving up after we trusted in the GPS and we're bounding down this road. It turns into a rutted farm mush road. I think we're fortunate we didn't get stuck. I turned this around and we finally got the GPS and get back on course and we found our way here. But the possibility of us being stuck in the mud in rural France scared the bejeebus out of me. So here we go. Here's what we have, and this is why we're here. Our next stop in rural France finds us at the Lochnagar crater. Now, allegedly, this is the largest man-made crater in the world, and this was formed when German troops were here and as an encampment, and the British tunneled underneath the encampment with and then put dynamite, got out of the tunnels and then blew the Germans up with all the dynamite that they had planted under the Germans. So here you go. And here is rural France. We haven't gotten too many pictures of this. It really is pretty out here. It's cold today, probably the coldest day of the trip. I should have brought my vest and my long pants, so I'm a little chilled. Even George went to the long pants. I think I'm the only stupid American tourist out here in short pants. So we're gonna scroll here and we're done. Our next stop of the day is at the Beaumont-Hamel Newfoundland Memorial. Oop, I'm sober. This isn't too far away from the crater that we were just at. You see, though, I'm going to look right up into the sun, so we're not going to, but there's a French flag and a Canadian flag, and I think a provincial flag from Canada. I'm not sure. But here's what the countryside looks like, and you can see that there's other tourists here in a caravan, or an RV as we call it. There's another one pulling up. He has himself a satellite dish, an in-motion satellite dish on his. But allegedly there's some pretty cool stuff here. We're going to go have a look. At the memorial, which is actually a Newfoundlander memorial, not really Canada, because as we were told by the host, who's a Canadian national, that Newfoundland didn't join Canada until 1949. So they were fiercely independent, and they still, it's like Scotland, they still have a sense of independence, even though they're part of the Dominion of Canada now. But here's a surviving bit of the trench. There were many trenches. It wasn't just like one trench, you had supply trench and where the men slept and ate and all that stuff. So here's a little bit of it. Newfoundlanders, proud to be independent, and they were part of Britain. They weren't an independent nation, but they were a dominion of Great Britain until 1949 when they joined Canada. We just took a little walk along this path that has us right in the trench, one of the many trenches here, and there's also bomb craters and all kinds of other stuff like that in the Newfoundland Memorial. And here's the heart of the monument, the memorial to the Newfoundlanders, I'm sorry. This is part of the British line, and these stakes were where the wire was strung. About 100 meters in back of this lot was where the German front lines were, so this area here was no man's land. Here is the Y Ravine Cemetery with Allied and Newfoundland dead. There's a couple of cemeteries on the complex here. We're only going to stop and see this one. And then back out that way, 100 meters is where the German lines were. Now that I've walked through the grounds, I can correct myself, and I'm going to extrapolate that the flag in the middle is the flag of Newfoundland. And here you go. We're going to go to the visitor center now after our arduous hike.